Anyway, hello. Are the audio and visuals okay? Can anybody hear me and see my Can anybody hear me? If you can hear me, please type a numeric 0 in the chat room. And good morning, Gura or Tetris. Good morning, Rachel. Okay, since luckily there are 3 fellows in today's live streaming. Let's start earlier, and as I have something to do, I have to travel to other places. Afternoon. Let's keep today's live streaming short and leave the details which I haven't explained to our later live streaming in the future. Yeah, let's begin our live streaming. Welcome everyone to Weebearn, which helps you grow rich. We are a comprehensive money educational platform dedicated to nurture entrepreneurs, investors, and capitalists among secondary school students, cosplayers, and anime lovers. And today is our 10th live streaming in English. So let me introduce our channels again. Weebearn literally means an otaku money-making channel, 御宅賺錢台或毒撚賺錢台, a platform designed to facilitate your financial gain, make otakus great again, and make weebs rich again. In today's market reading AI miscellaneous, we'll begin with a short financial report, actually 3 financial reports from SNDK, as you can see, Mara and Spark respectively. Next, we'll go through the IPO of the coming IPO of Unitree and its pre-IPO on Hyperliquid, a perp stacks, one of the most popular perp stacks, and why how HIP-3 allow 2 tickers with a common underlying and the same name to be shared among 2 liquidity providers. Sorry, let me fix my camera focus again. Okay, I think this camera should work. Furthermore, a brief overview of our financial education offerings within the Metaverse, personal development courses, live advisory, and live coaching services offered by Weebearn, the Otaku money-making channel is provided. If we have time, I don't think we have much time in today's live streaming, and actually, if we cannot finish all the content, we'll supplement it in the next live streaming, I think. If we have time, we're going to share with you the previous OpenAI's paper regarding 10 advancements. We've already introduced it, but see if we can explain or dig in more details for you. Additionally, we're going to introduce our United Empires of Otakus, also known as the Weebearn VTubers Alliance, a decentralized autonomous organization DAO auto agency focusing on supporting the development of aspiring virtual idols of the future generation. We encourage participation from interested secondary school students or even primary school students or teenagers looking to embark on a VTuber career. If you are a secondary school student and you are passionate about being a VTuber, join our Weebearn VTubers Incubation Program and Auto Agency. 如果你係一個中學生對投身 VTuber 行業有熱誠嘅話，歡迎加盟我哋嘅毒撚帝聯 VTubers 自治組織。And if you enjoy this episode, please subscribe to Weebearn on YouTube and share our videos with your classmates and friends interested in anime, macroeconomics, gaming, AI, cosplay, technology, and options trader. 喺開之前，請大家 like and share 我哋嘅頻道、我哋嘅片同埋直播俾你身邊鍾意動漫、AI、cosplay 同打機嘅同學或者朋友。Recognizing this is one of our first few times live streaming in English, acknowledging our limited proficiency in English, regarding some critical money management concepts, we'll repeat it in Chinese. References and bibliographies to pertinent financial literature, research report, and thesis will also be shared in the comment section for collaborative reading on AI engineering documentation. Actually, I've already pasted the links in the chat room already. You may open it and read these financial reports with us. The recent split in Bitcoin's blockchain highlights a significant technical and ideological divide within the community. The split occurred when nodes running BIP 110 started rejecting blocks that didn't support the controversial anti-spam proposal. BIP 110 aims to limit non-financial data on the Bitcoin blockchain, transforming a technical debate into a broader discussion on the use of blockchains, Bitcoin's block space. The split began at block 961,632 with BIP 110 nodes, requiring new blocks to signal support. However, only a small minority of miners have backed this fork chain, leaving it significantly behind the main Bitcoin chain. The main chain's lead suggests that BIP 110 supporters have not gathered enough mining power to maintain a fork at Bitcoin's usual pace. This is according to the initial decentralization spirit 先到先得嘅去中心化精神。If you want to know more about the basic fundamentals of Bitcoin, you may also watch our previous live streaming in our major Cantonese channel. We have already introduced the initial Bitcoin white paper in our early reading live streaming. 呢個毒撚賺錢台嘅毒撚讀書會呢個 Weebearn Book Club first few live streaming, I think. Actually, this live streaming, you may watch it later after today's live streaming. The proposal has not garnered the necessary miner support, with only 2.53% of blocks signaling in favor during the final period before the split. For BIP 110's rule to log in, the fork chain must reach block 963,648, with new rules starting at block 965,664. The survival and economic relevance of this new chain depend on continued money support and adoption by exchanges and infrastructure providers. The emergence of BIP 110 stems from a long-standing dispute among developers and community members about Bitcoin's role in accommodating non-financial data. This debate intensified following changes to Bitcoin Core's policies, which some argue encourage blockchain spam and detract from Bitcoin's original design. The rollout of BIP 110 contrasts sharply with Bitcoin's last major upgrade, Taproot, which secured broad miner support before activation. As it stands, BIP 110 has entered its mandatory phase with minimal miner backup, resulting in a one-block minority fraud that lags behind the main chain. Social value data indicates that on the 7th of August, according to Eastern Time, New York, the total net inflow into Bitcoin spot ETFs amounted to $98.8453 million US. The Bitcoin spot ETF with the highest single-day net inflow was BlackRock's ETF IBIT, with a net inflow of $86.7064 million US, bringing its historical total net flow to $61.175 billion. Following this, Fidelity's ETF FBTC recorded a single net inflow of $40.9544 million, with its historical net inflow reaching $10.036 billion. Conversely, the Bitcoin spot ETF with the highest single-day net outflow was Invesco and Galaxy Digital's ETF BTCO, which saw a net outflow of $19.3722 million. The historical total net inflow of BTCO stands at $152 million. As of the time of reporting, the total net asset value NAV of Bitcoin spot ETF is $79.497 billion US, with an ETF net asset ratio, which is the market value share of Bitcoin's total market value, of 6.1%. The cumulative historical net inflow has reached $52.178 billion US. The recent surge in US spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs has marked their strongest inflow week since April, with a combined total of $1.1 billion. Spot Bitcoin ETFs alone attracted approximately $853.5 million US, while spot Ethereum ETFs saw inflows of $244.9 million. This influx is noteworthy as it follows a cold card wallet export, which primarily affected Bitcoin cold storage wallets, leading to substantial inflows back into centralized exchanges. 如我哋早幾日直播都有講過幾次呢個 cold card 嘅冷錢包出事，咁所以資金又開始重新回流翻入去中心化，回流翻入中心化交易所，以呢個中心化風險或者託管風險去替代佢哋自身嘅技術風險咯。Transiting back towards centralized risk, shifting back towards third-party risk from their own technical risk. BlackRock's IBIT and Fidelity's FBTC funds were significant contributors to the Bitcoin ETF inflows, accounting for over 93% of the total. Despite the cold card exploit primarily impacting Bitcoin, Ethereum ETFs also experienced a robust inflow stream, indicating other market dynamics at play. The trading volume for Bitcoin ETFs was around $8.19 billion, marking a decrease from the previous week, and Ethereum ETF volume saw a similar decline. Despite these inflows, both Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs remain in net outflow positions for 2026, with Bitcoin ETFs down approximately $4.44 billion and Ethereum ETFs down about $873 million. The market has shown resilience with Bitcoin trading near 65,100 and Ethereum around 1,920. This activity reflects a complex interplay of market factors, including investor sentiment and external events like the cold card exploit. Trump Media and Crypto.com have decided to end their partnerships due to changes in corporate strategies and market conditions, as announced on Friday. The termination affects the proposed creation of Trump Media Group CRO strategy, which was intended to be a publicly traded digital asset treasury company focusing on Crypto.com's native token CRO. 一個 CRO 嘅 DAT， a DAT of CRO. This decision also impacts Yorkville Acquisition Corp., which was to be transformed into a CRO treasury company by August 2025. Additionally, Crypto.com will no longer support Yorkville's plans to launch ETFs under the Truth.fi brand. Although Yorkville America's existing and future ETF offerings will proceed as planned, the announcement led to a slight decline in the value of Crypto.com's native token, which fell by approximately 4%. Previously, Trump Media plans to distribute crypto tokens to its shareholders in collaboration with Crypto.com, aiming to use these digital assets as reward tokens. Recently, Trump Media transferred 2,628 Bitcoin to Crypto.com, but these were not sold according to a company spokesperson. Despite these changes, Trump Media remains a significant holder of Bitcoin, ranking as the 14th largest public Bitcoin treasury with over 600 million worth of BTC. $600 million worth of BTC. The recent developments in the Bitcoin mining industry indicate a significant structural transformation, as highlighted by the financial performance of leading companies like Mara Holdings, MARA, and CleanSpark, CLSK. Hey, let me check the share screen. Can anybody see my share screen? If you can see my share screen, please type a number 1 in the chat room. Let me report the share screen in OBS. Sorry, excuse me, now it's okay, I think. Can anybody see my share screen now? If you can see my share screen, please type the number 2 in the chat room. Both companies are experiencing a transition from traditional mining models to diversified strategies focusing on high-performance computing, HPC, amid the rise of artificial intelligence. Despite efforts to diversify, both companies reported double-digit declines in quarterly revenue and a reduction in cryptocurrency market value on their balance sheets, which are key factors which are key factors contributing to the current pressure on profitability. Mara Holdings (MARA.US) exhibited notable volatility in its financial data for the second quarter of 2026. The company reported revenue of $174.9 million, down from $238.5 million in the same period last year. A significant source of profit erosion was due to the volatility in digital assets, resulting in a fair value loss of $343 million. This substantial impairment led to a net loss of $611.3 million for the quarter, compared to a net income of $108.2 million in the previous year. Operationally, MARA Holdings mined 2,422 bitcoins at an average selling price of $73,078 per bitcoin. The company's computing power increased by 22% year-over-year, reaching 70.3 EH per second. However, efficiency costs did not improve proportionally, with operational cost per petahash per day rising by 4% to $27.7. In terms of asset reserves, MARA Holdings holds 35,577 bitcoins, a 29% decrease from before, but with an estimated value of $2.1 billion. It remains the fourth largest corporate Bitcoin holder globally. On the other hand, CleanSpark CLSK.US also faced revenue contraction in its fiscal third quarter ending the 30th of June, with revenue of $138 million, down from $198.6 million in the prior fiscal year. The financial report revealed a fair value loss of $116.3 million and total assets of $2.7 billion, with ample working capital amounting to $761 million. Management emphasized that converting grid assets into stable income through agreements like the $6.6 billion Syndos file lease with a 20-year term is crucial for mitigating digital asset market volatility. Actually, these kinds of agreements are like cover call or short call option strategy。即係佢其實已經放棄咗佢哋收益嘅機會去換呢個穩定性，呢個有少少似夾息嗰啲被對買權策略。With a 20-year term is crucial for mitigating digital asset market volatility. Meanwhile, Mara Holdings is accelerating its infrastructure development efforts by pursuing the acquisition of the Long Ridge facility to enhance computing capacity. At its Hannibal campus and acquire land in Matagorda County of Texas, adding 2 gigawatts of capacity for a total potential capacity of 4.8 gigawatts. By incorporating initiatives like Exaion, Mara aims to deepen its involvement in a digital infrastructure value chain to diversify income sources and offset the cyclical risks associated with single mining operation. The capital market remains cautious about the transformation progress of both companies. Following the earnings reports, Mara Holdings stock fell over 5%, closing at 10.67, while CleanSpark's stock declined more than 6%, ending at 12.69. The downward pressure on stock prices reflects investors' balancing act between short-term profitability deterioration and long-term transformation uncertainties. For Mara Holdings, a key variable for future development lies in regulatory breakthroughs, particularly whether the U.S. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission grants final authorization for its Long Ridge facility acquisition application, which will directly influence the pace at which its high-performance computing capacity expansion can be realized. Let's move on to go through SNDK's report. SNDK's recent financial performance has been a topic of considerable discussion in our investment community. Despite delivering a quarterly report with impressive figures, a 51% increase in total revenue, a 103% rise in data center revenue, and a gross margin of 84.6%, the stock experienced a decline of 3.68%. The primary reason for this downturn appears to be the company's guidance for the next quarter's revenue, which fell short of market consensus by approximately 2.5%. This cautious outlook overshadowed the positive aspects of its current financial results. A significant portion of this quarter's revenue growth can be attributed to the rising prices of NAND, with 2/3 of the increment stemming from this factor. Meanwhile, consumer segment revenue saw a decrease of 32%, highlighting the impact of price increases on consumer demand. While enterprise clients, particularly those in the AI sector, continue to pay premium prices, the consumer market is evidently more sensitive to these changes. So they have more price demand elasticity. 有句話講你越冇呢個需求價格彈性，你喺博弈之中就越有優勢。There's one famous money management concept that the lower the price elasticity, demand price elasticity you have, the greater your advantage in a game. 呢個都係一個理財嘅概念啦。SNDK's strategy, which includes recognizing revenue from its Stargate QLC SSD platform, designed for hyperscalers, could prove beneficial if it leads to large-scale adoption. However, the market's reaction suggests concerns about the sustainability of its current growth rates and potential overvaluation at this point in the cycle. The company's gross margin plateau is viewed positively by some analysts, as it indicates it focus on long-term stability rather than short-term gains. This approach aligns with SNDK's NBM, new business model, which emphasizes disciplined capital expenditure and avoiding excessive investments during peak cycles. Such a strategy is designed to mitigate risk during downturns and ensure sustained profitability. The debate among investors revolves around whether now is an opportune time to invest in SNDK. Critics argue that the plateau in gross margin signals the peak of the current cycle, prompting the recent stock decline. However, proponents believe in the potential of the AI supercycle and continued investment by major tech companies, which can sustain demand for memory products despite short-term fluctuations. As long as there is enough strong demand from AI and computing companies like NVIDIA, and supply constraints persist, SNDK's strategic focus on LTAs, long-term agreements, and disciplined capex could lead to substantial growth in total profit pools. Additionally, shareholder returns through buybacks could further enhance the company's valuation, transitioning memory companies from cyclical stocks to essential components of the AI infra. In conclusion, while there are short-term challenges and uncertainties, SNDK's long-term prospects remain promising if it continues to execute its strategic vision effectively. Investors must carefully weigh these factors when considering their positions in the company. SNDK's CEO David Joe highlighted the significant opportunities in addressing inference as a memory-bound problem, emphasizing the potential of HBF to overcome bottlenecks and enhance performance. The company is focused on innovation in inference memory architectures and plans to discuss these developments further at their upcoming Analyst Day. Staying close to customer needs is crucial, or consumer demand is crucial, as they will influence future architectural decisions. In financial terms, SNDK reported a robust Q4 performance with revenue of 8.97 billion. As we've mentioned, surpassing expectations of 8.64 billion, marking a 372% year-over-year increase and a 51% sequential growth. Adjusted EPS was $39.25, exceeding the anticipated $34.37, and adjusted gross margin reached 84.6%, right above the expected 81.5%. Operating profit saw a 68% sequential rise to 7.1 billion. The data center segment continues to drive growth with revenue of 2.98 billion, a 103% sequential increase. The edge segment reported a 392% year-over-year growth with revenue of 5.43 billion, while consumer revenue declined by 32% sequentially to 556 million. Looking forward, SanDisk provided guidance with expected revenue between 10.3 billion and 10.8 billion, slightly below market expectations of around 11 billion. Adjusted EPS is projected to be between 44 and 46, aligning with market forecasts, and gross margin is anticipated to be between 83% and 85%. The company attributed 1/3 of the revenue growth this quarter to increased shipments and 2/3 to the rise in NAND average selling prices, indicating that the performance surge is largely driven by the NAND price cycle. Additionally, SanDisk signed 5 new long-term supply agreements this quarter, including 3 with new clients, and announced a new 14 billion stock repurchase authorization. Michael Burry, the inspiration behind The Big Short, those famous bearish movie, if you know, has recently engaged in short selling various stocks, achieving a success rate of 87.5%. Notably, he shorted MBIS, which experienced a 13.3 drop on the day. Since the 30th of June, he has targeted 8 different stocks for shorting, with the highest return of 27.7% from AMAT. The stocks Burry has shorted include MU. Its stock price relative to the 200-day moving average is at its most extreme since 1948, with Burry assessing that HBM high bandwidth memory has not altered the supply-demand cycle of the memory industry. NVIDIA, SOXX, and AMD all are considered to have peaked in both the semiconductor cycle and valuation, with the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index deviation from the 200-day MA reaching levels not seen since the 2000-year dot-com bubble. ORCL MBIS, the market's interpretation of uncommenced leases and procurement commitments as indicators of future growth, is seen as overly optimistic compared to current revenue level. And also CAT, do not mix it up with the meme coin CAT, viewed by the market as a beneficiary of AI data center power. CAT's short-term price increase has been significant, with its price to revenue ratio reaching multi-decade highs. Bill Ackman, founder of the hedge fund Pershing Square, expressed his confidence in Uber's market leadership and autonomous vehicle development, or autonomous driving models. He highlights the company's strong cash flow, profit trajectory, and revenue growth, considering the current stock price to be very attractive. Ammon believes that users will gravitate towards brands with established trust and high market share, such as Uber rather than Tesla, which also develops autonomous vehicles. This user loyalty is seen as Uber's greatest advantage. In the realm of AI investments, Ammon opts for companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta. His core perspective is to identify companies whose long-term development can be highly anticipated, and whose market positions are difficult to disrupt, rather than those at the cutting edge of technology. Coinbase Base app is set for a strategic shift under the new leadership of Jordan Kobe Fish. According to Jess Pollack, the creator of Base, the app will transition the app will transit from being closely aligned with its namesake blockchain to become a very comprehensive trading platform. This move aims to integrate assets and features from various blockchains besides Base itself, enhancing its trading capabilities. Oleg explained that the app's previous focus was on expanding the Base ecosystem through network-specific products. However, under Fish leadership, the scope will widen to include diverse blockchain assets. Fish, who joined Coinbase following its acquisition of its crypto fundraising platform Echo, will concentrate on developing a premier trading product. Oleg emphasized the competitive landscape, noting that Base must offer superior access, liquidity, and execution to succeed. Currently, the app allows trading across multiple crypto ecosystems and is introducing features like prediction markets and perpetual futures. Oleg is now dedicating his efforts to the Base blockchain, which handles significant decentralized finance assets and daily trading volumes. The entry of major companies like Robinhood and Stripe into blockchain infrastructure is seen as validation of Base approach. Oleg views this combination as a positive indicator of the sector's growth, expressing confidence in the long-term potential to revolutionize the global financial system. Weebearn, I myself support Fish decision. Actually, a public blockchain or L2 chain alone is not very useful, but the main point or the mode comes with is convenience and brought about to users trading experience or finance experience。我自己就覺得佢如果一個條公鏈乜嘢都唔做，就淨係獨守喺度，其實都冇意思。咁我個人係幾認同 Fish 佢呢一個轉型，咁係個護城河真正嘅護城河係喺有多用戶用，係因為佢嘅便捷性咯，係應該為金融交易提供更多便利咯。好似佢講嘢更多流動性同埋一啲獨家可能優質資產嘅。Another story I want to share with you about, besides these reports, is recently there's a meme. If you have been inside my Weebearn Discord channel, you may also notice that there's a meme shared by Frappool about someone deciding to bury some memory here is meme. Actually, the meme was shared by me. But Frappool also agree with my viewpoint. What I want to talk about is the rich mindset. Money is a tool. Rich people, we rich people use money as a tool, and for money to take value, for money to be valuable, we have to use it. The same goes with memory, GPUs, gold, or even Bitcoin, or whatever you like. In my point of view, if you're just accumulating DDR5, it's a bit stupid, especially he says that he's going to invest on DDR5 spot for 10 to 15 years. If you invest in a stock, you may be profitable since there is actually shortage in memory supply. However, if you directly invest in its commodity, in its hardware, these old DDR5 memory will probably depreciate over time. By the time after 2 decades or after 15 years, they may not be as valuable as today. And why memory? Why this DDR5 is so variable? Why their prices why they appreciate in recent years? It's because there are so much demand from AI companies, LLM companies, and why these AI company purchase DDR5 RAM is not because they simply want to store it as some decorations. They actually need these memory for production to produce higher value services, to add value. If you simply dig up a grave or bury these memory RAM, you are just wasting the computing resources or wasting the memory resources. The same goes for currency. By currency, it means it should be current, it should be flowing. Illiquid money is just dead money and is meaningless. 記憶體之所以短缺啦，其實就係因為有 AI 公司佢需要用呢啲記憶體嚟生產更具價值嘅服務。咁如果你諗住好似呢啲人咁啊，擲20年去買呢啲 DDR5 條，跟住諗住擺10年、15年，咁過咗15年佢哋可能會落後咗，已經過時咗。即係記憶體成個最少會仲喺度，但係呢一款呢一代嘅記憶體可能喺嗰個時候會淘汰。而且錢係要嚟用，即係富人思維本身就係講緊錢係要流動，錢係一個工具。而我個人覺得crypto 又好記憶體啊算力都好咯，佢都係要用先至有用，即係你要真係用佢先至有價值。點解短期有呢個供不應求嘅情況，就係因為 AI 公司佢需要用呢啲記憶體去增值，去生產更有價值嘅 tools。如果你埋起咗佢，咁就好似死錢咁樣，咁咪產生唔到任何價值，係冇 cash flow，係冇意義。Let's come back to let's come back to Coinbase. Poland is now dedicating his effort to the Base blockchain, which handles significant decentralized finance, assets, and daily trading volumes. The entry of major companies like Robinhood and Stripe into a blockchain infrastructure is seen as validation of Base's approach. Poland views this competition as a positive indicator of the sector's growth, expressing confidence in the long-term potential to revolutionize the global financial system. SharpLink CEO Joseph Chalop has expressed strong opposition to EIP HIP-3. In the beginning of this live streaming, we've talked about a recent fork of BTC, and now we're going to talk about a proposal within the Ethereum community. EIP 8363, a proposal that seeks to implement a progressive burn of validated rewards on Ethereum. This proposal, known as tapered issuance burn, aims to gradually burn consensus layer rewards as the staking ratio increases, eventually reaching zero issuance yield when approximately 50% of ETH is staked. Chan warns that this would undermine decentralized finance DeFi, diminish Ethereum's competitive edge over Bitcoin, and defer institutional interest, especially at a critical time for the network. The proposal has sparked significant debate within the Ethereum ecosystem. Critics argue it could disproportionately impact solo stakers and weaken Ethereum's security framework. Its supporters, including Ethereum Foundation researcher Justin Drake and EHCC founder Jerome DeTaichi, argue that it could effectively manage the amount of stake ETH and reduce dilution for non-stakers. Charm, formerly of BlackRock, contends that the current staking yield is crucial for on-chain markets, supporting various financial instruments and protocols. He believes that reducing this yield would increase capital costs and potentially drive activity away from Ethereum. He also disputes the notion that Ethereum overpays for security, emphasizing that issuance is a necessary internal transfer within the network. Furthermore, Chom highlights Ethereum's attractiveness to institutional investors due to its productive nature. He stressed that undermining this advantage at a time when Ethereum is performing well compared to Bitcoin and other major cryptocurrencies would be detrimental. Sharplink, which holds substantial ETH across validators and DeFi protocols, has also formally opposed the proposal. The company is a significant player in the Ethereum ecosystem, backed by Consensus and Ethereum co-founder Joe Lubin. Several other industry leaders share Chom's concerns. AEVE founder Stanley Kuleshov describes the proposal as potentially damaging Ethereum, citing unpredictable yields and reduced demand for ETH as a productive asset. Additionally, there are criticism regarding the timing of EIP 8363 submission, which coincide with the deadline for inclusion in the upcoming Hagota hard fork. As of now, EIP 8363 remains under consideration and could still be rejected, with FOCIL scheduled as the main feature for Hagota. In my opinion, I think that the yield rate of Ethereum is similar to what the interest rate in a traditional central bank。我個人覺得以太坊佢嘅質押嗰個收益率其實就有啲類似傳統央行嘅一個利率，咁佢係用嚟制定一個信貸成本又或者係資金時間成本嘅一個基準嚟。It serves as a benchmark for interest rate, or the yield of Ethereum serves as a benchmark for the time cost or the time value for the cost of borrowing money, the cost of financing. The Senate is poised to address the Clarity Act, a significant crypto market structure bill, upon returning from its August recess. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has filed for cloture on the motion to proceed, setting the stage for a vote on 15th of September. Invoking cloture requires 60 votes and would limit debate on the motion to proceed. Though it will not directly pass the bill, the Senate faces unresolved issues concerning ethics, illicit finance, and integration of Senate Agriculture Committee tax, which have delayed progress. Negotiations continue with bipartisan efforts to address these sticking points. Notably, Sans, Ruben Gallego, and Thom Tillis have proposed an ethics compromise involving state enforcement and presidential divestment from crypto-related interests. Republican support remains crucial, as the motion needs backing from at least 7 Democrats or independents. Industry stakeholders, such as the Crypto Council for Innovation, view the following as a vital step forward, despite earlier hopes for expedited consideration. The legislative calendar is tight, with midterms approaching adding urgency to the proceedings. Galaxy Research has adjusted its projections for the bill's passage, reflecting the challenges ahead. Lawmakers will reconvene on the 14th of September, focusing on advancing the Clarity Act amidst a crowded legislative agenda. Elon Musk has repeatedly stated publicly that Optimus is not only the most important product in Tesla history, but may also become the largest product in history. He has further, what he means is that given the huge enormous size or market cap of Tesla and SpaceX, its production is the largest scale in human history。佢嘅意思係話Tesla 會係最大嘅產品，或者 SpaceX 會做出最大嘅產品。咪你好知啊，佢體量大嘛，佢個市值係高到已經係上咗前幾名，即係打入去以前嘅科技七雄嗰度。所以 Tesla 同埋 SpaceX 係整緊最大嘅做到最大嘅生產規模。So Tesla and SpaceX, the two famous public companies held by Elon Musk, achieved the largest production scale. Actually, let me open also the Unitree pre-IPO on Hyperliquid for you. Never mind, let's continue. Elon Musk has further estimated that approximately 80% of Tesla's future value will derive from robotics rather than automobiles. In China, Unitree Robotics has appeared on the CCTV Spring Festival Gala. 上咗呢個央視春晚 for 2 consecutive years, performing Yanko dancing and handkerchief spinning in 2025, and directly engaging in a kung fu performance with children in 2026. Several hundred million viewers watch humanoid robots maintain balance, move smoothly, and perform a series of complex actions on television. These scenes create the impression that robots are no longer merely fictional concepts from science fiction, but may soon enter the real world. However, the more visually compelling the footage, the greater the risk of creating a misleading impression. Behind the 10-second videos circulating widely on social media and valuations reaching tens of billions of US dollars, what is the actual state of the robotics industry's commercial development? The challenge is also why you should always revise repeatedly on your fundamental research or fundamental analysis or equity research. Analyzing the artificial intelligence industry is quite similar. The discussion may encompass semiconductors, cloud computing, and the fundamental underlying LLM large language models. Even the semiconductor sector itself includes distinct areas such as GPUs, CPUs, and memory, the three most popular assets. A single live streaming about AI therefore requires your substantial selection and prioritization, as well as a careful balance between breadth and depth. The robotics industry is similarly extensive and complex. For many people, robotics remain a field which they have had limited direct experience. Beginning with technical details can easily make this subject difficult for common people to understand. So let us again analyze the robotics from our familiar macroeconomic perspective, or a macro level and macro level analysis. As the industry develops, the objective of introduction to robotics serve as a foundation, enabling every audience develop an initial understanding of the industry's current stage of development, the structure and distribution of its overall supply chain, and the core details that require attention when we make our money management decision. As I've always said, that supply chain management is money management。供應鏈管理就是理財。Upon this foundation, you may be better positioned to understand individual stocks or individual sub-industries in the future. If any particular detail appears to warrant further examination, feel free to ask questions in the chat room, or you may also inquire in our Discord channel, so that we may provide more comprehensive and deep analysis to be addressed in our future live streaming. Yeah, you are welcome to leave your comments and share your views, also even unrelated to robotics or our theme. So let's begin with the history of robotics. In the 1950s, automobile factories were filled with the heavy scent of oil and coolant, accompanied by the deafening sound of metal clashing. These factories rely entirely on manual labor, so the last century's industry were mostly labor-intensive, low-level industry or low-value-added industry, with thousands of workers repeating mechanical actions on assembly lines. There was a small change in 1961 regarding the supply chain money management, when a bulky non-human-like metal arm was introduced to General Motors factory. 咁就係最早期嘅機械臂啊，咁啊同 Tesla 一樣，都係喺一啲製車廠嗰度開始搞起嘅一個供應鏈管理嘅進化。In the fall of 1956, at a cocktail party in Wilton, Connecticut, George Devil, a 44-year-old self-taught inventor who had never attended law college, during World War II, he had worked with radar and microwave technology and had a keen interest in automatic control. 咁啊，嗰個年代好多人冇乜讀過書啦，咁但係佢喺第二次世界大戰期間就曾經接觸過 即係打緊仗嗰陣，佢有做過一啲微波同埋雷達科技嘅工作。The other guy was Joseph Engelberger, a 31-year-old with a bachelor degree in physics and a master's degree in electrical engineering from Columbia University. At this time, he was a supervisor at an aerospace company and a shop business acumen. The conversation quickly turned to Isaac Asimov's science fiction novels about robots. During their discussion, George Deville presented a patent application for a programmable object transfer device. His idea was straightforward. Existing factory automation equipment was too rigid, only capable of performing single tasks, and required complete dismantling and reconstruction when production lines changed products. He envisioned creating a reusable mechanical arm that could store movement trajectories on magnetic tape. That was the idea in early stage von Neumann machine or the most traditional classical computer. 咁就係啲早期電腦咯，咁就係用一啲磁帶嚟去編程。By changing the data on the tape, the arm could switch tasks seamlessly. Engelberger immediately recognized the potential. With post-war factory wages rising and environment hazardous, replacing human labor with machines for dangerous tasks would be highly sought after by factories worldwide. That evening's bar conversation marked the beginning of industrial robot history. Engelberger took charge of securing investments and negotiating with clients, while Deville focused on research and development to turn their ideas into reality. After years of experimentation, they finally produced a prototype named Unimate. In 1961, this nearly 2-ton metal giant was loaded onto a truck and transported to General Motors' die-casting plant in Trenton, New Jersey. 咁就係最早期嘅機械人嘅原型，就叫做 Unimate。The die-casting workshop at that time had a harsh environment filled with pungent metal dust. High-temperature die-casting machines injected molten metal in the molds to produce parts-like car door handles. When parts emerged from the molds, they were extremely hot, reaching several hundred degrees Celsius. Workers had to wear thick gloves and through the heat, use tongs to extract the part and quickly immerse them in water to cool. This work was arduous and dangerous. Any lapse in concentration could result in burns or worse, having an arm caught in a die-casting machine. Unimate's task was to take over this work. Engineers connected its power and hydraulic lines, and metal arm emitted a low operating sound as it slowly extended into the high-temperature molds. It precisely grasped the freshly cast metal bars, turned to place them in a water pool, and returned to its starting position to await the next cycle. This marked the first time in human history that an extremely hazardous physical task in a factory was entrusted to a pain-insensitive metal machine. By today's standards, the first-generation Unimate was very clumsy. Its body consisted of heavy metal components and hydraulic lines, with a control system that relied on a rotating metal drum. Before use, engineers had to manually guide the arm along its path to record positions on the drum's magnetic track. During operation, it repeated actions like playing a tape. It lacked vision or tactile sensors and could only rigidly execute fixed instructions. If the die-casting machine failed to open on time or if parts were misaligned, Unimate would blindly reach out until it damaged its mechanical structure or overloaded its hydraulic system. Despite its crude design, it fundamentally changed factory operations. Previously, entire production lines operated at the pace of human endurance because workers needed rest. When Unimate stood by the die-casting machine, factories exhibited an unprecedented rhythm. Machines were tireless and could operate continuously as long as they didn't break down. The production line's pace was no longer determined by human stamina, but by hydraulic valves and electrical circuits. After Unimate's successful operation, Engelberger withdrew. He filmed promotional videos, visited major car manufacturers, and even appeared on television programs demonstrating its capabilities, hoping to promote this new technology across America. However, The market response was unexpectedly lukewarm. The 1960s marked the peak of American manufacturing. Giants like General Motors and Ford were highly profitable, operating under a straightforward business logic. Build more factories, hire more workers, and cars would sell. To them, a machine costing tens of thousands of dollars that frequently broke down and required specialized maintenance seemed like an expensive novelty toy. Another obstacle came from labor unions. At that time, American auto unions were powerful and suspicious of Unimed, viewing these non-salaried, non-sick leave taking metal arms as tools for suppressing wages and taking away jobs. To avoid worker protests, many management teams decided against introducing such technology. Moreover, American companies prioritized short-term financial reports. Purchasing robots requires substantial upfront investment while labor cost savings would take years to materialize. An appealing financial equation, just like the capital expenditure of AI firms these days. Unimation, the company Ingabert founded, suffered long-term losses. They invested significant time and resources in educating the market and improving technology, but struggled to increase order volumes. This is known as the investor's curse. Companies that pioneer new products often exhaust all resources developing markets, but may go bankrupt due to financial strain just before industry breakthroughs occur. Unimation eventually changed hands several times before fading from history. However, America's efforts during this period were not entirely in vain. Although factories were reluctant buyers, defense agencies and top universities like MIT and Stanford recognized its potential and began investing in research focused on robotic arm kinematics and computer control, unintentionally laying foundations for robotic software development. As for the Unimate at Trenton's factory, it was eventually dismantled and preserved in a museum, a testament to robotic labor feasibility, yet also leaving behind significant commercial opportunities. In 1967, several well-dressed Japanese engineers arrived in Connecticut from Kawasaki Heavy Industries. In Unimation's showroom, they intently observed Unimate handling heavy objects. Unlike skeptical American corporations, these visitors saw solutions crucial for the country's future within this cumbersome robot technology destined soon enough across Pacific Ocean. Finding ideal growth saw Japan instead of America were initially disregarded altogether. There was proliferation of industrial robots, particularly during the post-war economic boom. Japan's unique societal and institutional environment enabled it to capitalize on automation technologies initially developed in the US. Key factors contributing to Japan's success include addressing labor shortages, leveraging a lifetime employment system that alleviated workers' fear of automation-induced unemployment, and strategic government support through subsidies and tax incentives. These elements position Japan as a leader in integrating robots into manufacturing process, notably through Toyota's lean production system, which optimized the use of robotics for efficiency and low defect rates. Then there was the emergence of four major players, known as the Four Great Families, dominating the industrial robot market. These include FANUC and Yaskawa Electric from Japan, and ABB and KUKA from Europe, each bringing unique strengths in control systems, motor technology, and automation. Despite their success, Japanese companies face challenges as technological trends shift towards AI and software-driven solutions. The reliance on hardware-centric approaches may slow their adoption to new market demands, such as robotics applications beyond traditional manufacturing environments. Overall, this history underscores Japan's strategic approach to initial industrial robotics while acknowledging potential limitations as global manufacturing dynamics evolve. 其實商用到即係有商業價值嘅機械人，最早都係擺喺啲工廠啊、車廠嗰度用先，咁就好少會擺喺家居用，因為佢個前期資金成本都好大。Actually, most robotics were deployed in factories and automobile manufacturers instead of household because its initial capital expenditure is huge. There's not so many households that can afford these robots. Next is the evolution of China's manufacturing sector from 1990 to 2010, highlighting its transformation from the world's largest industrial hub. There were also challenges faced by the industry, such as labor shortages and the increasing cost of human resources. The narrative then shifts to China's strategic focus on becoming not just a consumer but also a producer of industrial robots, driven by the Made in China 2025 initiative. China's unique advantages include a vast array of manufacturing scenarios, a comprehensive supply chain, and a large domestic market, which collectively foster rapid technological advancement and cost efficiency. Furthermore, the emergence of Chinese companies like 3C Electronics, Collaborative Robots, and AMR Logistic Robots in new market segments where they have carved out niches by leveraging structural advantages. However, we should also acknowledge the limitations of these strategies, particularly in high-end applications such as automotive welding and semiconductor clean rooms, where Japanese companies maintain a competitive edge due to their advanced technology and decades of accumulated expertise. Finally, let's address the sustainability of this growth in a post-subsidy environment. You may wonder which companies will thrive based on their position in the value chain and technological capabilities. And we need a detailed analysis of the whole industry and also on individual stocks to identify which entities are making profitable ventures and which are struggling with resource-intensive commitments. Unitree Technology is gearing up for a Silicon Market event with its IPO set to reveal a formal issue price on the 7th of August and open for subscription on the 10th of August. The anticipated issue price, based on projected share issuance and fundraising goals, is estimated at $15.4. The company forecasts a revenue growth of 36 to 45% by the first half of 2026, with a target to ship 5,500 humanoid robots by this year. Unitree has established strategic partnerships with major technology companies. In June, NVIDIA selected Unitree's H2 Plus robot for the iSet GR00T product reference design. Earlier this year, Unitree announced a strategic collaboration with Tencent's Robotics X Lab, where Unitree provides humanoid and quadruped robots, while Tencent offers the Taros embodied intelligence platform. Contrary to the belief that all hardware is a commodity business, Unitree's IPO filings Unitree's IPO figures indicate approximately 60% gross margins, surpassing those of most AI labs. The demand for durable, high-quality robots is expected to exceed supply, and ecosystems of developers and skills will create competitive advantages around specific robot platforms. Companies capable of developing outstanding products will command brand premiums, illustrating capitalism's expanding influence beyond digital domains. Trade XYZ and Trade Paragon have simultaneously bid for the Unitree ticker associated with Unitree. Paragon is currently live, and once Trade XYZ launches, 2 Unitree markets will be available on Hyperliquid. Actually, these are those 2 companies' X username. Paragon is currently live, and once Trade XYZ launches, 2 Unitree markets will be available on Hyperliquid simultaneously. This represents the first HIP-3 instance in which 2 deployers have competed over the same pre-IPO underlying asset. 呢個係Hyperliquid 佢 HIP-3首次有2位部署者係喺同一個 pre-IPO 嘅標的資產上面去競。The same ticker may be deployed by multiple parties. The auction concerns access to a limited number of HIP-3 market deployment slots and does not grant exclusive rights to the underlying asset. Trade Paragon has optionally opened the market for trading. Its current market price of 65 is more than 4 times the IPO reference price of 103.89 RMB. Regarding price discovery, Paragon closely follows the discovery bounds and related frameworks that Trade XYZ has tested in live market conditions. Paragon's documentation has been updated to describe its pre-IPO perceptual contract framework, including discovery bounds, anchors, internal oracle pricing, and funding mechanisms. Yeah, you may also read these documentations with us together. You're welcome. According to an exchange with founder Taha, Paragon did not consider it necessary to introduce substantial changes beyond mechanisms familiar to users, and therefore adopted the frameworks used by Trade XYZ. Can Trade XYZ also list Unitree? Yes, Trade XYZ may likewise listed the same ticker. The ticker option determines access to a limited number of HIP-3 deployment slots, rather than control over the naming rights to a particular underlying asset. Consequently, different deployers may launch their own versions of the same underlying market. 個意思即係咧喺Hyperliquid 上面咯，你去競投一個股票代號咯，一個幣嘅代號啊，其實就係僅係象徵住你可以接觸得到有限嘅 HIP-3嘅部署嘅位置啊，而唔係限死咗你對某一隻標的資產嘅命名權。唔同嘅部署者啦，即係唔同嘅呢啲大佬啊，佢哋可以各自上架佢哋自己版本嘅呢啲 contract 咯，即係呢啲合約對標同一隻標的資產。The established incumbent Trade XYZ is therefore expected to enter the competition. What is Paragon's pricing mechanism for its pre-IPO perpetual contract? Paragon's documentation describes a framework for discovery bounds, anchoring, internal oracle pricing, and funding. This is highly similar to the mechanism used by Trade XYZ. The framework was selected because it has already been tested through practical market operation. You may ask, how was Paragon able to acquire two tickers consecutively at the same price? Paragon used one reserve deployment. Under the special right designed by Hyperliquid X for HIP-3 deployers, each deployer has 7 opportunities to acquire a new ticker immediately at the current auction price. Bypassing the normal 31-hour Dutch auction countdown， 即係喺 Hyperliquid 佢嘅針對 HIP-3 deployer 嘅個特別權益啦。每一位 deployer 佢都有7次機會去攞到新嘅股票代號咯，即時喺而家嘅拍賣價。如果過咗正常荷蘭拍賣式嘅31小時倒數。This also suggests that Paragon expects competition in subsequent HIP-3 ticker auctions to remain strong, with prices potentially rising about 577 high. Market makers are also important. Liquidity is foundational, and the reference non pose similar analysis this issue. Paragon began expanding its activity only after formally reaching an agreement with a major market maker, subsequently acquiring 14 tickers over approximately half a month and bringing them to the market. A comparison of the two platforms' liquidity is therefore warranted. The arrival of Paragon as well as the emerging Treasure XYZ is welcome as a new phase of constructive competition within HIP-3 and as part of the broader development of on-chain price discovery authority. We express enthusiasm for this competitive dynamic. 一個叫做呢個就係所謂嘅鏈上價格捕獲機制。掛住講我個 cam 又好 full 嘅。Let me fix my camera first. Okay, back to our live streaming. Due to limited amount of time, let's go through the two passages quickly. If you want me to explain them more in depth or explain some parts more in detail, you may type in the chat room and we will address your questions in our later live streaming, or we will respond to in our Discord community. The article model harnessed by Scale AI also a famous AI developer company, delves into the complexities of fault localization in modern agents. Today's agents are intricate systems that include not just the model itself, but also context, memory, tools, graders, users, and the operating environments. Just as we've said in a previous harness engineering live streaming in Cantonese also. If you're interested, you can also always look back our previous live streaming about harness engineering, and we may also continue the remaining parts if we have time. Identifying the root cause of a failure is crucial, and similar failure outcomes can arise from entirely different underlying issues. For instance, if an agent disregards an early instruction, it could be due to context compression removing it, necessitating a harness adjustment. Alternatively, the information might have been present but improperly utilized by the model, indicating a need for model retraining. This paper categorized 41 common failure types and attributes, each to a specific component interactions, and responsibilities. This classification provides fundamental in helping us determine whether to apply model post-training, modify context or memory or tools, or should we redesign the environment and evaluation processes. The authors also tested different advanced models on classifying failure cases, achieving a coherence kappa of 0.76 compared to human annotations, suggesting a reasonable consistency in this classification approach. This framework is particularly relevant in the current stage of agent development. As harness grow increasingly complex, simply stating the agent failed is oversimplistic. Effective debugging requires tracking back to the first unrecoverable error to decide which layer requires modification. This paper model of harness and interaction-centric taxonomy for localizing agent failures introduces such a structured interaction-centric framework designed to improve the diagnosis and remediation of failures in autonomous agent systems. The authors argue that existing failure taxonomies, which often focus on system-level outcomes or internal module failures, fail to distinguish between issues that require model post-training versus those require harness or environment engineering. The taxonomy is built upon a formal representation of an agent system as a collection of interacting components. The authors define agent architecture as a hub and spoke model where the model interacts with peripheral components categorized into three families: user, harness, and environment. The unit of analysis is defined as an interaction edge between two components, CLMP1, CLMP2. Each failure is localized to a specific edge and a designated fault site. This classification is governed by a strict root cause principle. An agent system is represented by the tuple failure equals CLMP1 minus CLMP2 dot fault. The taxonomy adopts the earliest recoverable failure rule, where the causal chain is traced backward from the system-level outcome to the first event from which the system could not recover. And this also mimics a standard some common debugging routine of human beings. A failure is attributed to the model side if a more capable model could have possibly avoided or recovered from the failure under the same conditions. Otherwise, it is attributed to the surrounding component. 嘅意思即係，如果更強嘅模型可以避免或者修復呢一個 bug 嘅話，咁佢就係模型嘅問題。如果唔係，就係周圍環境嘅問題。The taxonomy categorized 41 distinct failure models organized hierarchically. First, user family covers interactions with the owner. Instruction grader mismatch, over initiative. The grader like specification gaming, evaluation awareness, and third parties like indirect prompt injection. The second family of failure is the harness family. Includes context like goal drift, memory like state staleness or misread, tools like tool hallucination, malform arguments, and model-to-model interactions like peer or sub-agent delegation and communication failures. And finally, the environment family manages external services, include service failure, state delivery, and local execution conditions like observation failures. The authors evaluate the operational reproducibility of the taxonomy by using 4 frontier models, including GPT 5.5 and 3 versions of Claude Opus as agents as adjust. Let me put the keywords in the chat room so that you may follow the passage easily. These judges were tasked with reconstructing the causal history of agent trajectories and assigning taxonomy labels without prior knowledge of human-assigned ground truth. The experiments demonstrate that the judges recover human labels with significant agreement, reaching a coherence kappa of up to 0.76. Pairwise agreement between independent judges reached kappa of 0.84, suggesting that the taxonomy suggesting the taxonomy captures a shared objective structure of agent behavior. The use of selective voting, retaining only labels where K of 4 judges agree, significantly improves precision, with unanimous agreement yielding 0.96 precision at 68% coverage. This paper concludes that by localizing failures to specific interaction edges, practitioners can move from generic execution failure labels to targeted interventions, such as specific post-training datasets from model size failures or structural changes to context management and tool wrappers for harness side failures. So that there are three kinds of solutions targeting three kinds of classified problems or bugs. And you may consider this as a beginner's fundamental guide for you to fix your AI models or AI agents when you come up with problems in your AI agents. Let me also briefly go through the introducing language models to assert their own consciousness restores human beliefs and values by Google. Actually, you may view this paper on Arxiv. It's a public paper, so everyone can see it on Arxiv. The text appears to discuss the implication of safety fine-tuning on AI models, highlighting consciousness inadvertently suppress, highlighting unintended side effects, methods to reverse these effects, and the impact on social reasoning capabilities. It explains that safety fine-tuning, intended to prevent models from claiming consciousness, inadvertently suppress the model's attribution of mental states to Unitree animals, chatbots, and natural entities, as well as belief in deities and the supernatural. However, this suppression does not affect the attribution of mental states to humans. The research identifies two methods to restore suppressed representations: safety ablations and steering with a consciousness vector. Both methods effectively restore mental state attributions, with steering being approximately twice as effective as ablation. Importantly, these interventions do not impair the model's theory of mind capabilities, as demonstrated by consistent performance on tests like Mo to MQA, HiTom, and MMLU, some famous tests of AI models. Mechanism analysis shows that instruction tuning rotates the consciousness direction opposite to the safety direction, while maintaining the independence of the TOM direction. Restoring consciousness direction also makes the model's response to general social survey GSS. This may be some kind of literature or humanities subject terms. Value questions more aligned with human distributions, covering aspects like religion, values, hope, and subjective well-being, you name it, with answers generally shifting towards positivity. The authors caution that current alignment strategies, model alignment, we mean, entangle harmful self-awareness claims with benign human beliefs. 呢個叫做AI 嘅對齊啊，即係去限制 AI 模型嘅一啲思想，就為之 alignment。咁有啲人會編稱佢做貝利亞或者咩。So model alignment is the process of training artificial intelligence systems to behave in ways that match human values originally, safety principles, and user intent. Its initial main goal was to make AI helpful and honest while reducing toxic outputs, bias, or dangerous behavior. Since I have something else to do, let's conclude this live streaming by here and leave the remaining parts in our next live streaming. So again, Weebearn and Otaku money making channel 毒撚賺錢台 or 御宅賺錢台 is a charity platform dedicated to facilitate financial gain and nurture entrepreneurs, investors, and capitalists among secondary school students, cosplayers, and anime lovers. We make otakus great again and make weebs rich again. And we provide comprehensive money education services to teenagers and cosplayers so as to foster the growth of ACG and cosplay culture. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Weebearn on YouTube and share our videos with your friends and classmates interested in anime, microeconomics, gaming, AI, cosplay, technology, and options trading. See you next time. Thank you. Thank you, Gura and Gura Casrice and Rachel. Thank you, Lolly, as well.